All right, let's get some Benny going here.
Presenting Benny Goodman and his orchestra.
All right, here we go. Good morning, Chris. Say Mona and Dina. Hey, Betsy.
Let's dance to a half-hour rhythm.
Hey,
by
Lisa
Benny
and
Goodman
Heather.
and
Hey,
his
Laurie.
orchestra, the Raja of Rhythm.
Morning,
Playing for you
everybody.
From the Joseph Urban Room of the Congress Hotel in downtown Chicago. Dodging a Divorcee, the first number. Benny Goodman and his orchestra.
Hey, Todd, Heather. Morning, everybody. Hey, Jeanette and Bob. Cindy. Morning, Laura. It is a soggy Sunday. Like, getting my car out of the street, it was like up to past the tires at a couple of points on my street. Which is good. We need this. I don't know how it's going to affect NASCAR. I don't care. But, hey, Denise. I feel bad for people who bought big tickets if it's going to be a problem. Hey, Susan. But you know what? I wasn't sure I could do a walking tour this weekend. That's a big financial hit, not working on a summer weekend. I know a lot of people who have to take a financial hit from NASCAR. Taking over our city. Morning, Luann. Hey, Katie. Great, well, I'm at least faking it. Today has been Patreon day for me. I'm getting Patreon posts up and ready to go for the next few weeks. So I'm really trying to find a way to relax a bit. And the schedule's kind of getting to me. Morning, Scott. Hey, Karen. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Sue. Hey, Libby. Hi, everybody. I think this might be what we do on Sunday mornings for a bit while I'm knee-deep in this project, or waist-deep, really. So Sunday mornings, I'll just kind of fill you in on some of what I've researched this week. And I'm way behind. I'm skipping like Monday, Tuesday. Better part of Thursday. Hey, Martin. Hey, Lisa. Hey, everybody. Yeah, we're doing a different Benny Goodman show. This, I think, is the week before the one that we usually do, or a few days before the one we usually do. Is he on twice a week? Must have been. So usually the one we normally do is from January 6th of 36. This is January 3rd of 36. Assuming the tag is correct. Hey, Marita. Hey, Lorena. Hey, Kathy.
Successfully, and we might say rhythmically eluded.
Somebody talked me out of buying a really good camera. I just bought this old DSLR, but I really feel like I want to get a mirrorless one. I mean, I got to take pictures of graves for an upcoming book, right? And I'm just fooling myself. Maybe it's just retail therapy. Sometimes I decide to buy really expensive things just because I'm bored. Just to chase something away, you know. Just to replace one kind of anxiety with a different kind of anxiety. Nikon, that's what I'm thinking of. I was thinking of the Nikon Z30 with the zoom lens kit, which is still quite the investment. Alexa just informed me it's somebody's birthday, and I don't even know who that person is. Thanks, Sue. Yeah, we got this new sign here. I'm hoping I can incorporate it into this year's into this year's artwork from Mystericon, which I started working on the last couple of days. Gina, it is always possible to get an autographed copy by coming to a walking tour or coming to an event. Other than that, I'm not really set up to mail stuff out too well right now. Or anyway, I'm bad at it. Something I've noticed, I've been using an old EOS Rebel, like one from 2011, to get the coyote pictures all this time. But for anything other than like the telephoto, my phone gets better shots, honestly. So, I just bought a newer version of the same camera, which was just kind of a thing that I knew I was going to be by this cemetery and wanted to get better pictures, and I didn't have my wife's camera with me. So I got my own for more than I should have. K&M Photo in New York knew that I didn't know what I was doing. It's like walking into a dealership going, which lever's the velocitator and which is the deceleratrix? Hey Elaine, hey Ashley. We'll give it just a minute or so before we get started properly. Hey Sue. That is true, but you know, they had good deals there. They just Mike, I've only got the one lens. It's like the I can't remember what the numbers are, but it only goes up to 135. And the Nikon kit I'm looking at comes with one that goes to 250, which is also the Z mount. So it's really wide. So I'd be out of about $500 that I spent on that Rebel and lens. I went in not intending to spend nearly that much. I'm not a gearhead, just in general. Yeah, well, if you wish to help, join the Patreon. But all right, everybody, I think we might as well get started here properly. It's 10 o'clock, and let's see. So welcome along, everybody. I'm Adam from Mysterious Chicago Tours. Been a tour guide and historian here in Chicago for going on 20 years now, and in New York for 5 or 6. This week, I was able to announce that I have signed with Algonquin / The History Press to do a book on New York City cemeteries. It'll be basically Manhattan cemeteries, stories, symbols, and secrets. And it's been very tricky research. It's been a lot of fun. I've gotten to solve a lot of mysteries. I love solving mysteries. We'll cover a little bit of that today. And also, just like with any other research, I find that a lot of what's out there on these people and their lives and their stories is not necessarily reliable. Some of it is treating fictional characters as real people. Some of it has been just too buried underneath jargon and things. But in any case, you know, also, I bet if I was using this as a webcam, maybe the blur from the neon sign wouldn't be an issue. I shouldn't torture myself like this. But, all right. So, anyway, there's a lot of stuff to research, a lot of stuff that I didn't expect, because it's a whole different world researching people from the 1700s. I've been digging up pamphlets, I've been digging up more stuff about dueling, more stuff about specific battles, more stuff about just how the world worked at the time and what was going through people's heads at the time and how we should interpret that today, etc., etc. But today I'm building up to a point that I've been kind of dreading. The portion, I've been kind of working my way through Trinity and St. Paul's geographically, and I've gotten up to the point in section 1 South, section C, where we're getting to the Hamilton plot. So I'm going to have to distill Alexander Hamilton and Eliza Hamilton down to a few hundred words. Let's move along here. So this is Trinity Church in Manhattan. Great many of these are unidentified. But of course, we know Alexander Hamilton is right here. And right in front of him is Eliza, his wife. What did I think? Louisa, jeez. All right, Alexander Hamilton, George Washington's right-hand man, born in the Caribbean on an island, grew up with pretty much how they say it in the song. His mother had been imprisoned for adultery. His father disappeared, became orphaned very early, got screwed out of his inheritance, but made his way to the mainland, became George Washington's right-hand man, major figure in American politics without ever actually going so far as to run for office. And then in 1804 was killed in a duel with his friendly rival Aaron Burr. Now here's the other thing, is that I didn't even know this myself until the musical came out, that his son Philip Hamilton had also been killed in a duel about 3 years before. Now if you see this little sign right underneath me here at Trinity, that says, that's a little marker for Philip Hamilton. And it says on the sign that they don't really know where he's buried. The records just say Trinity Churchyard. But there are a couple of 19th century sources that say that he's right next to Alexander underneath this monument. Now, they never really cite a source on these in these 19th century things. It's all people who would not have been in a position to know. It's probably just hearsay, but also around this general vicinity, it tends to be family plots clustered together. So it makes all the sense in the world. We can assume just as much, honestly, than we can assume Eliza is underneath her own slab right in front there with the flag. But in the process of looking this up, kind of the orthodox version of the Philip Hamilton story is that there was a guy in town named George Eaker. We showed his grave last week. He was a young lawyer. And one 4th of July, he made a speech that was sharply critical of Philip Hamilton's father. So Philip Hamilton and a friend of his, Mr. Price, came to the theater and started insulting Mr. Eaker, who then challenged the two of them to a duel in which Philip was killed. So one thing I noticed is nobody ever really cites what it says in that speech that ticked him off so much. And also, the duel took place in November. It was 4 months after the speech came out, which is a long time for it to go. Now, this one took me some doing to get a hold of, to get a copy of the speech, but Eaker's speech was actually printed as a pamphlet at the time. And it inspired some debate in the press, because all through the election of 1800, Eaker had been supporting Thomas Jefferson, whereas Hamilton and his buddies had been supporting someone else and saying that Thomas Jefferson guy is dangerous. He's an atheist. He's going to burn down all the churches. Which sounds like hyperbole, but you got to remember he had just been in Paris where they were actually doing that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of debate in the press about this, and there was one letter to the editor that said, you know, hyperbole is one thing, but this kid was trying to destroy people's reputations, and that's just over the line. Signed, A. Very tempting to imagine that that's an A for Alexander. But really, if you read over the speech, most of the stuff that he's saying, well, his response to the Jeffersons and atheist stuff was, well, so what if he is? This is America. You can be whatever religion you want or no religion. And look how bad it got over in, say, France when the church took over everything. Didn't we just shake off somebody that made us all be members of the Church of England? And really, there's a lot to agree with in this speech, in fact. But he also said things like, they have told us that a public debt is a public blessing, which I find specious. Public debt is a public blessing is something Hamilton used to say. So this would have been seen as mild criticism. I really don't think that there was anything in there that would have really set Philip off so much that he was still upset about it 4 months later. I think he and his friend were just being obnoxious in the theater. By most accounts, they were making fun of the speech that he had made. But not like criticizing it, just actively making fun of him. It was even suggested that the whole thing was just that Philip was just the aggressor, but that came out in a newspaper called The American Citizen, run by a guy by the name of James Cheatham. James Cheatham was not necessarily the biggest artist in insults. His insults are not as funny to read as some other people, but his paper was just nuts. He would make up any rumor that he could about people. He would stir the pot as much as he possibly could. Now, in particular, his biggest target was Aaron Burr. Here's a letter, a pamphlet that he put out on him. He had all kinds of claims about Burr. He claimed that he let an infamous prostitute insult Theodosia, his wife, while Theodosia was on her deathbed. In the build-up to the election, it said that he invited a whole bunch of free black men to his house to court them as voters, and then supplied them all with sexual favors. He said that he had a list right here in my hand of 20 infamous prostitutes who have been connected with Aaron Burr. Now, how much of this is true is probably very little, except that Aaron Burr did in fact get up to this kind of stuff and was in fact being more or less blackmailed by a couple of people who had had his children. We don't really know how many it might be because a lot of the letters were destroyed after his death, but Burr certainly, you didn't need to make stuff up about Aaron Burr. There was plenty on the record, and really, it can be argued that the reason that Alexander and Aaron Burr eventually ended up even having this duel at all was largely, more than anything else, because Cheatham had been riling Burr up for so long. He also didn't like Hamilton. He ripped on Hamilton every chance he got as well, and it kind of liked stirring the pot between the two men. But after Burr lost a governor's election and heard that Alexander had made some kind of insinuation that he knew something even worse than was being said about Burr, they just got into a war of words that ended in a duel. Usually Alexander could talk his way out of this kind of stuff. There's some interesting debate about why exactly he ended up in this one. One is that he thought Burr might be starting a civil war and he himself would have to command the army. Didn't want it on the record that he had refused a duel. Others say that Alexander was outright suicidal. We just really don't know. But in many ways, it's really because of James Cheatham had got Burr so riled up. If it hadn't been for Cheatham, there might not have been a duel. And here's the other thing. Cheatham is somewhere in this cemetery. Nobody knows where. I don't think there has ever been a marker for him, but he was buried here. He's in the registry here, so he's someplace in the same space. I mean, I'd love it if I could find some kind of record. I read all the funeral things. They never say where in the cemetery it was. But now and then we can find some of this stuff up. But here's the thing as well, is one of the things I went to for research this week was I went to the Newberry Library to see the hard copy. I couldn't find an ebook anywhere, so I just went and found the hard copy of a pamphlet called The Plagioscariliad. The Plagioscariliad was a pamphlet-length poem challenging Eleazar Oswald to a duel. It's really pretty hilarious. He was right to be mad at Oswald. Oswald had been ripping on immigrants, and Carey said, "Hey, I'm from Ireland. I'm an immigrant. You don't like me?" And Oswald said, "Yeah, of course I don't like you. You have a deformed leg that looks like a cloven foot. Maybe you're the devil." So he wrote this entire pamphlet challenging Oswald to a duel, which he then lost. Oswald shot him in his bad leg. He recovered, but still. So this is this whole pamphlet-length poem challenging him into a duel, and I learned some new vocabulary words. Here's a verse of it. Throw in QF, and there's a footnote that explains what that means, of thieves and whores, scullions and rascals many scores, vagabonds and scoundrels plenty, 'twill make a literary dainty. Shite pokes. That's the first word on the next page. That was a term, having looked that one up, it was a term given to blue herons because of the fact that if you poke them, they would defecate. I have no idea who found that out or how many people really needed to go around poking herons. But it was also occasionally used as an insult to people. And according to the Oxford English Dictionary, the first use of that word as a term for an unpleasant person was 1905. This beats that by 100 years. I should really write to the Oxford English Dictionary people. But in it, there's this terrific old story. We'll put this one here. Well, there's this word calumny again. You just saw that in the Cheatham thing. That meant slander, lies. I had to look that one up. It never seems to come up to me. Then I realized, no, it does turn up in Wicked. She's defaming all of Oz with her calumnies and lies. But there's this anecdote about Aaron Burr. That late in life, he was reading the book Tristram Shandy by Lawrence Sterne, which I had to read in college. It was an 18th century novel. If I'm ever on a desert island, it's exactly the book I'm going to take because it'll keep me busy the longest. Not only is it, big enough to kill a rodent, I could, use it to kill my dinner when I'm on the desert island, but also you can probably read it 100 times and still not really know what the hell is going on. Also, there's some dirty jokes in it, and I do appreciate that. But Burr was said to be reading a part of a famous portion of Tristram Shandy where the character Uncle Toby is bothered by a fly, but then he catches it and takes it to the window and says, "Surely the world is wide enough for thee and me. I'll not harm a hair on your head." To which Burr was said to have wistfully remarked, "If I had read more Sterne and less Voltaire, perhaps I would have known that the world was wide enough for Hamilton and I." But that apparently did not work on Matthew Carey when he was writing the Plagius Scariliad. He specifically refers to that same incident. I'll just read the whole portion of it here. Starts with, "But should the man a rival be in trade, he's more your enemy. Mind not those fools who say in Sterne, we might with ease and profit learn, could we its value but discern, a different line of life to trace, and quote as follows time and place. 'Bout Uncle Toby's nose one day a fly had buzzed in wanton play. He caught the insect and with care dismissed it safe in open air. This creature why, says he, torment, on earth by my Creator sent? Begone, thou varlet, once more free, there's room enough for thee and me. This is a whining, canting strain, unworthy of the noble train, with whom you seek to be allied, who justly in their rancour pride.'" Which is basically a very long-winded way of saying, you know that thing about there's room enough for thee and me? Screw that, we're dueling. Turned out to be a big mistake on Matthew Carey's part. But dueling was pretty generally a mistake for everybody. I should do a whole book about duels, honestly. America's stupidest duels. Which is a tough one because they're all basically really stupid. I especially love the one about a guy who's buried someplace here, they don't know where. It's either here or St. Paul's, they don't know where. But he was a sea captain who started a duel with a guy because he'd been singing a song he was sick of. That's the official story anyway. There had to be more to it than that. But all right, so those are some highlights from this week's research around here. This is what I do all day, is dig around in these stories. A quick upcoming plug. Thursday night, we're doing the Drunk History edition of the Chicago Ghost Tour. That's where I will be getting good and drunk and trying to do a ghost tour while in an inebriated state. Super fun. Also, July 8th, we are doing Architecture of Mysterious Chicago. That'll be next weekend. That is a walking tour downtown. Now that NASCAR's over, we can plan to host tours downtown once again. I'll be posting some more. Lately, people have been just emailing saying, here's when I'm in town. Can you book a tour for this time? And that's kind of how I'm setting up my schedule right now. It's been kind of a tricky year for that sort of thing. But anybody, we'll put on the Benny Goodman. I saw a question in the comments, why aren't you getting notifications? I wish I could answer that. You can try turning your notifications off and on, but Facebook themselves decides who they want to send notifications to. Believe me, if I could notify all 30,000 people who are following this page, I absolutely would. I would love to be able to do that again. But Facebook is its own thing. It's its own animal. You can't make it do what you want it to. If there were a better platform that hadn't been screwed up, I'd be over on that one. But so far, you can also see this on a couple of other platforms. When I'm broadcasting from here, it's on Twitch, it's on YouTube. You might be able to have better luck with alerts on there. But transferring everybody over is tricky. I'm starting to transfer from Twitter to Blue Sky now, but I think I got like 8 followers there. But all right, here's Benny Goodman, everybody. Now, please go back to talking me into buying a nice camera. Spending $1,000 on a camera. Kristen, that's probably it. They don't want you to know the truth about H.H. Holmes. They expect me to keep up the kayfabe. He was America's first serial killer who preyed on women during the World's Fair. Hundreds of victims in the torture chambers beneath his murder castle. Hey, here comes Lily behind me. Hi, Lily. Hi, Lily. Hi, Lily. Hi-lo. A better lens is one thing, Bob, but also there's been sea changes in cameras in the 7 years since my current one was made. I love the idea that I could Bluetooth connect it to my phone and get geocaching. I went to Monsters of Adult Alternative the last 2 nights, Hold Steady and the Mountain Goats. It was kind of a letdown, honestly. I thought it was a co-headlining thing, but the Mountain Goats were strictly the opening act with all the time constraints and rushing. And Hold Steady, I love. They've recorded some of my favorite songs, but I just don't think they're very good live.
Benny Goodman is playing for you from the Joseph Urban Room of the Congress Hotel in downtown Chicago, and his next tune, Lights Out.
But yeah, the good thing about the Salt Shed for that crowd is it's right by the Home Depot. So we could have totally all gone to hang at the Home Depot after the show, and it would have been perfect. Crowds I was standing around, it was like we were all talking about cassettes and 80s toys, and the guy next to me had 2 Weird Al cassettes in his fanny pack at that moment. Have a good day, Sue. You know, I saw on, I think it was like Sports Illustrated, that 2,000 NASCAR tickets were being distributed to inner city kids. Like, Streeterville? South Loop? West Loop? Are you still using the term inner city? Lisa, the Salt Shed is a really cool venue. It looks really cool. It's also hot as hell in there. I don't think the acoustics are that great. When I went outside to like the picnic table area, they were playing the Hold Steady's concert over the speakers, and it sounded better outside through the one speaker than it did in the venue. But it's cool. They got a little guitar shop set up in there. It's easy to get a drink if you want to, but it's also a pain in the butt just to get to the venue. There's no parking nearby. There's no train stop nearby. It's tricky. F, it might just be too small on here. Let's try to make that bigger. Maybe that's why donations are down. We'll try that, see if that works. We shall see. But anyways, Venmo, Adam Chicago, or PayPal, that address. I don't know if anybody's ever actually used these QR codes that I put up. Lisa, that's something I'm definitely considering. Should I just wait till Prime Day comes?
And again,
But I want it now. I want my retail therapy now. Yeah, it might just be too small. Sorry about that. Now, if you just go to one of those apps. Yeah, Kathy, I've seen Mountain Goats about 20 times. These 2 shows would be not in the top percentile. And I never stay for all of Hold Steady. I love Hold Steady, but live it's just like, they just bang through the songs one after another, and they never seem like they have time to breathe. You know, Prime Day is right by my birthday. That is also very true. Adam, I wouldn't say a bad show. It was just kind of a rushed show with a very unusual set list. Yeah, Gwendolyn, there's a lot of that going around. It should only take a couple of minutes of research to find out otherwise, but... The donations go towards keeping food on my table.
Whoever you are you alive?
I'll level. This is my job. Running tours and doing historical research is my job, and books do not pay very much themselves. The book that I've been researching, talking about here, I probably will not turn a profit on book sales.
And when you come, I'll promise to be your very own.
Right now, it's going for talking myself into buying a Nikon Z30 with a good zoom lens. Or more alcohol. Well, Kristen, I would not swear that he's Jack the Ripper. For $5, I will give you the talking head treatment. Now, many people have suggested that there weren't that many serial killers known to have existed at the time. Holmes was alive in 1888, and his whereabouts that fall are not particularly well documented. Now, some people have said there could be a connection. Now, this may not have been Holmes' usual method of killing people. The sort of berserker attacks associated with the Ripper are not really his style. But you know what? If he was in London, he would have been on vacation. Why not mix it up a little bit? Many people have suggested that. That's me not breaking kayfabe. Now, Sarah, it's also something I would be using for work after all. But you know, at the hanging of H.H. Holmes, it was witnessed by a good 100 people, many of whom knew Holmes pretty well and hated his guts. It would be very, very difficult for him to fake it. Kathy, it would definitely be a write-off. Absolutely a write-off. Oh yeah, if I want to do this talking head style, now, the Cheatham pamphlets were absolutely critical to getting the duel started. Hamilton had usually been able to talk his way out of duels. Burr was not particularly a hothead. But in this case, we've got about a year of Cheatham spreading the most outrageous calumnies, and it was clearly weighing on Burr's mind. There we go. Oh yeah, next week I get to the North Section 1, so that'll be Charles McKnight and the Doctor's Mob. I know how to write that part anyway. But also I gotta look up more about John Moran Scott. A really interesting guy about whom it's difficult to get good information. Same thing with Hercules Mulligan. I think I might be saving his reputation. Most of the stories about him are fiction, but that includes the bad ones. I gotta get a new thanks thing up. I should really replace that graphic. Why don't I have another one? Let's see. Let's try this guy. I don't know if anybody's ever actually used the QR codes. Is it illegal to put your donations in a bank account under another person's name? It depends. Depends who you're trying to hide it from exactly. That's right, Bob. Be yourself. Stay safe and stay dry. Be yourself, unless you're Matt Gaetz, in which case find somebody else to be, please.
Helen Ward sings once more. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Let's make this smaller, though. blocking my my awesome neon sign. Hey! Okay, I feel like DeSantis must have already come up with somebody else to be. There's no way that guy's just a 44-year-old. No way that guy's a year or some months older than me. He has become some kind of aging boomer. Well, Sherry, hiding it from the IRS, yes, that's probably illegal. Hiding it from an ex-spouse, probably less so, depending on what kind of arrangement you have, I guess. What kind of legal arrangement you have.
Everywhere you go, any time of day. Big Ben rings it, Valley sings it, Whiteman swings it.
Even Mr. Crosby sings it. That's the sail by the toe. Well, just let it go, let it fly away. Heather, I hear you. Jared Kushner is younger than me. Stephen Miller is considerably younger than me. Buttigieg is younger than me. You know, they often say that goblins are anti-Semitic portrayals. Like Stephen Miller, that particular goblin is a deeply anti-Semitic portrayal of a Jew. Becky, there's no way DeSantis found the fountain of youth. He's like had the reverse fountain of youth. He seems so much older than 44 to me. Lisa, sorry to hear that. Glad you're here anyway. Thanks for saying hi. Hey Diane, happy Sunday. Thanks everybody who's just popping in now. We're in the post-tour hang. I think this is what we'll do on Sundays for a while I'm buried in New York research. We'll have Sunday be New York Research Day. I'll fill you in on all of the stuff that I've been doing the past week. Took some doing to get that George Eaker speech. I had to hack into Redex through my New York Public Library account. I tried it through several other libraries by then. And even then I had to find just the right link that my password would work. The first few, even in that site, didn't. And the hell of it is, I won't be able to use much of this in the book. I'm on a tight word count limit. Maybe I'll do a whole other Patreon or something where I can post these things. People need to read the Plagius Scarilli ad, and it ain't easy to find. Hey Octavio, glad you popped in. Traffic certainly wasn't bad for me last night, like getting home from the concert. It was, it was from Goose Island. Do I sleep at night, Carol? I go to bed pretty early most nights. I'm usually in bed by like 10:30, but then I'm up at like 4. If I'm lucky, I get to 4 or 5 o'clock these days. Sometimes like 2, then I can't get back to sleep. Well, that's what marijuana is for. Yeah, it's been raining pretty hard here. I was thinking about going to Target, but then I realized, can I even get the car down the street by now? I think I can. Maybe I'll go surprise Ronnie with a Target run. She'd love that. But all right, everybody, that's enough hanging around for me. Let me just quick plug the other upcoming things. So once again, on Thursday night, we're going to be doing Drunken Ghost Tour shenanigans. I'll get fairly drunk and try to work my way through a ghost tour, which I always feel like I know it so well that I can just hammer right through. And then on July 8th, we're going to be doing Architecture of Mysterious Chicago downtown. So everybody, thanks a lot for joining me. I'm Adam from Mysterious Chicago Tours, telling everybody one more time to stay safe and stay strong. And of course, if you can, gotta stay spooky, everybody. Have a great day. And don't get any